Hello, and welcome to the official video from my channel. The first one I threw up was more or less a documentation of the issue I was having with the AC200P that you see in the background there. Now that we got it back in action, let's try to get something that's useful up. Now, some of you may already be aware of this scenario, but for those of you who aren't, this may prove beneficial. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. When you buy these 12-volt appliances, like the two you see here, there, and there, I think that most people automatically assume that they will operate. Well, I did too. Well, let's just see what happens. As you can see, the smallest generator on the table is operating this device. I want you to notice that there is an initial ramping up of wattage. As it stabilizes, it will begin to come down a little, or it will maintain a certain watt output. That's important for what we'll discuss a little later on. Okay, I think we can pretty safely say that this is going to handle it. I'm going to let it run here for a bit, just so that we're sure. And once it levels off, I'll switch it to another. And we're going to kind of pass the buck around to see the differences between the generators and how they operate and how they handle the draw. Now this is really important because, some of us who aren't quite as diligent as we should be, we buy them and we stash them. That can be a recipe for disaster, especially when you need certain items. I think it should begin to level off maybe around 150. It's still on, you can tell by the red light there. So I won't go hit the screen just yet. Let it run a little bit longer. Okay, I'll turn the screen on. Okay, and it's leveling out right around where I thought it would be, around 150. Okay, good enough. We can call that a success. Now let's move over to the Ecoflow. And a lot of us have those. And me personally, I thought that was a for sure bit. As you can see there, it stopped. I'm gonna zoom in here. The red light is off. And we'll see if we can't get a little bit closer. And I don't know if you can tell, but there is an overload protection that's gone off. So I think that's fair to say that's pretty much a failure. I'm going to zoom out just so that you can see that the red light is off there. And when I move it to the next one, you'll get a chance to see it come back on so that you'll know there was no trickery, no flim-flam going on of me turning it off and turning it on. And now let's proceed to the big boy in the back. Let's go with the Blue Eddie, aka Big Teddy. Let's see if we can't move a little closer. Forgive the sound here. Well, that's pretty evident to see that Big Teddy can't handle him. So we're gonna switch him off again. Wait one sec. And actually we're gonna move over to the little brother in crime there. We'll go there next. Okay, you instantly hear the fan kicking on. You see the draw. The suspense of it all, huh? I think it's rather interesting, the performance of the three. You know, I've run them prior, so I'm aware of the results, but I think you'll be a little bit surprised as well. I let it run a bit, then I'll turn the screen back on because it'll give us the wattage output once I light the screen back up. So let it run for a moment here. Now, while that's happening, I want you to take into account that thus far, the ones that have failed, being the Blue Eddy AC200P and the Ecoflow, they are by far two of the most expensive items on the table. Now, granted that the eb1500 is more expensive than the Ecoflow, the wattage, the watt hours is much different. So that's not really a fair comparison price wise. But I did expect it, to handle that because they have such a reputation for having outstanding output. So I was a little bit surprised there. Okay, it's ran for a bit. Let's light him up and see what we have. Okay, as you can see, it's in the initial ramping and it's holding. Now that's what I wanted to discuss with you guys right about now that I spoke about earlier, that there is an initial surge with these appliances, but once it gets to a certain degree and it gets heated up, it will maintain it and it drops back down to about a 100-watt draw. Now what I'm going to do is, when I unplug it from here, let it sit for a moment just so that we don't get the ramping up from this device, because what you can do if you don't have one of the devices that are on the table, that allows it to ramp up, you can buy the smallest one, which would be the Energizer, and once it gets to where it needs to be, it'll operate off any of these, but the initial draw must be reached first before the resettling happens. Okay, let's get her unplugged and get it swung over to the dreaded, the absolute hated, despised Duracell. Give me a moment here. Now, while I let that sit, I'm curious, are you guys surprised yet? And I do have another 12 volt piece of equipment here, and this is probably really popular among truckers and people that RV. It's kind of like a little stove oven here. I'll come out a little bit. And that's the item you see there, the open tray item. And it has a very similar draw on these appliances. And the results have been exactly the same throughout. And I'll give you a chance to look at that as well before we close this out. But I want to use the same one on each piece of equipment to be fair. Now, what you're going to find, though, as we swing over to the Duracell, you're going to find that it has a very, very, very plain stream. I don't even think we're going to get the wattage draw on it, but you will be able to see whether or not it functions with it, and that's what's most important. Let's get it straightened up here. I'm zoomed in here. All right. Excuse the vibrations. Okay, let me get the device over there and get it plugged up. Okay, I was wrong. There is a output draw on the screen there, so that's going to help us get a better idea of what's going on. And I know everybody hates the Duracell because of its dated tech. You know, it has um, lead matte batteries and a modified sound wave inverter. You know, it has all the things that one would not want to see in a solar generator at this point in time of development. I mean, things have moved forward so fast. You would think, why would someone even put something like this out? And better yet, why would I even buy something like this? Well, this is why. I have bought this for this reason, this only reason only, to run 12-volt appliances and maybe a lamp, because I knew coming in that sensitive devices were totally a no-no. So, as far as I'm concerned, when I pull him out and I have these 12-volt appliances, it is like one of those movies you see. Release the Kraken. It gets the job done. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one off. I'm gonna put the other one on. Then I'm gonna cycle back around the opposite way that we started out and give the other ones a chance to redeem themselves. Clear the fallout on the blue eddy that's still showing. I'll clear that out, and we'll go back around with the little clamp style oven there. Oh yeah, and before I unplug it, for y'all haters, check yourself on the Duracell. Okay, just getting the party started. As you can see, results are pretty much the same. The draw is similar. It's holding it on. And once it levels off, it's not going to go any higher than that. So we can pretty much say that that test is pretty much concluded on that particular item, on that particular generator. So let's move it over to the little brother of the Big Teddy, aka the EB150. Okay, we got it moved up, we got it plugged up, and as you can see, the light is on with a little oven there, and we're watching the draw on it. And this is why, I think that we've heard it 1,000 times: check the equipment, check the equipment, check the equipment, or use it. Just take it up every now and then. If all you're gonna do is go in the backyard and throw something on there just to give it a good run to see how things are working with it, I think that's important. Because as I said before, I had the Blue Eddy for almost a year, and it had worked, pretty much a couple of times that I did yank it out the box, and I would only take it out maybe once every couple of months to check the charge, do a function test. But I would always, really check it as during the winter, because that is the time where I felt I would need it most. So don't just stick them in the box, peeps. You need to take that thing out every now and then, man, and at least check the battery, throw a couple of items that'll pull a decent charge off of it, just to see where you're at with it, because it would be unfortunate to need those in a time of need and it not perform adequately. Okay, we can call that. Now we're going to move it over to the Blue Eddy. I'm going to clear that fault out, and I'm going to get them plugged up, and we'll see what kind of results we'll get. We'll give it a fair shot. Being that it went off immediately, I want to try to give it another go, just to be fair. I know what the results are going to be, but for those of you who may have it and may be complaining, "Oh, you sure changing it?" We're going to do it again. Okay, there we go. There you go. Now you can't complain about that one. Okay, let's move over to the Ecoflow. we go. My mistake. There you have it. It's done already. Yeah. So there's no one left but the Mighty Midget, Energizer. Unplug him. We'll come around here to Bugsy Calhoun. We'll back up a bit. That way you guys can see that it's on the red light there. Sit there by the cord there. You can see the draw, of course. And there you have it. It's already reached the peak draw. It's begin to come back down. So I think the results pretty much stand for themselves. It's not exactly what I initially thought I would see, especially at the price points that I got some of these items for, but that just goes to show you never really know. Now I think it's imperative that you take your equipment out, as I said before, and so many others have stated, and you just give it a run every now and then. Because until you know, you don't know. And once again, we had the Energizer, we had the Bluetti AC 200p, then we had the eb1500, and of course, my fave, but the hated Duracell. And you got the Mighty Midget that's still doing its thing. Surprising. I know I certainly was. That pretty much wraps this video up. If you have any questions, drop down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my ability. If I don't, I will do my best to find out if I don't know. If you like what you've seen, come back again. It's early in the game, so I'm not gonna hit you with all of that subscribe and hit the notifications. Hang out a bit. Come back again and see if you like what I got to show. All right.